For the 84th time in franchise history, the lights of Monday night will shine down upon the Dallas Cowboys. It's an NFC East rivalry that dates back over 60 years as they take on the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. This is Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casino and Resort, live from the Star in Frisco. We get you ready here over the next hour for the first divisional matchup of the 2022 season. Alongside three former Cowboys, Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton will be soon joined by Haley Sutton, Nick Eatman, and Rob Phillips of DallasCowboys.com as well. But gentlemen, we're here. It's divisional time. The Cowboys at 1-1, and they're facing an undefeated Giants team who comes in at 2-0. And it's been a long time since the Cowboys have seen an undefeated Giants team at any point in the season. We still know it's early, but it's been since 2009 that they've seen a 0 in the loss column prior to taking on the Giants. But Barry, what are you most looking forward to tonight?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing if Kellen Moore and Cooper Rush can follow up what they did last week. I mean, that was a heck of a performance offensively. I think Kellen Moore did a great job of highlighting Cooper Rush's strengths out there. So hopefully they can come with the same type of game plan they had last week, and they can highlight his strengths. And we'll see if Cooper Rush can follow that up.
I am looking forward to seeing the two Nittany Lions, that of Penn State, from Saquon Barkley and Micah Parsons. Whether these guys are going to go out there, put them in the cage, what you call MetLife tonight, and see who comes out on top.
When you play within your division, first you got to put your hard hat on, and you got to play hard, and you got to go at them. No penalties tonight, and whoever had the best run game will win.
Isaiah, could you say Nittany again?
I can't.
It sounds like a little Pac-12 guy.
It's a little heavy.
You're not a big
I don't
guy.
fool with them cats, but
That's
we're in the
okay.
Northwest.
A little bit different. Why is a divisional game so different? Because it is an NFC East rivalry. Yes, you've got a ton of history, Nate, but why is it different this year for this rendition of the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, first of all, your offensive line was young due to injury. Wide receivers young due to injuries or transfer of players out. And this year here, you don't know. It's been like past years. You don't know who's going to win this division. But right about now, if you can get an early edge, an early jump up on your division, 9 times out of 10, you'll win it and you'll go to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, Nate. I mean, you're talking about a divisional game. You're talking about a divisional opponent. This is a primetime game here. We're talking about Monday night, and these guys hate each other. But you're talking about a New York Giants program that is totally renewed. This is Brian Daboll's new system. He is different. He built the house that they call Buffalo Bills. Let's see if he can do the same thing in the Giants.
Oh, without a doubt, you're 100% right, Isaiah. I mean, when you look at this New York Giants team, they come in there and they're pretty much respectable now, especially on the defensive side of the football. They don't have a lot of household names out there, but they fly around the football. They play group defense all together. So this should be a great test for this Dallas Cowboys team.
And you can't have Monday night without a little bit of mayhem, right? Especially with it being a divisional matchup. The mayhem's always there, but this week it might have come from a source that we haven't heard the mayhem come from. How about our very own owner, Jerry Jones?
Wouldn't it be something if the same thing happened and this is the way I think. And Tony was ready to go and ready to get in the game, and there you had Prescott ready to go. Which one's going against Green Bay? Okay, wouldn't it be something if you had a dilemma as to which way you go? You do that if he gets 10 wins. Same thing that happened with Prescott. I think like that.
How much of your mind works like Jerry Jones is? Have you allowed yourself to dream that if I can beat the Giants, I can keep this job?
I definitely don't dream as big as Jerry. No, but just want to keep winning. That's the goal. That's the plan. As long as I'm in there, that's my job. And rely on those guys on defense and our offensive line and receivers, and play within the system and trust them and get the job done.
How do you avoid getting too high with the game's highs or getting too low with the lows?
Yeah, just kind of over time, I think I've gotten better at it. We do a lot, mental conditioning, things like that, training your mind on how to, handle the ups and downs. And I think as you get older, you get better at it, and, experience has helped.
The quarterback battle that no one saw coming. Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott. Now, Cooper Rush has earned at least a little bit of the talk because he is 2-0 as a starter in the NFL. He looks to go to 3-0 tonight. But, Isaiah, you're a former quarterback. How do you let this saying from Jerry Jones and a potential controversy brewing, how do you handle that?
Well, you listen to 2 out of the 3 Jerrys that you heard. You heard the owner Jerry, you heard the GM Jerry, and then you heard the marketing manager Jerry Jones. So you want to listen to the owner and the GM. Go out there and take care of business. Do the best that you can. Try to get the W on the scoreboard and walk out of there healthy.
I just believe that, you don't listen to anything outside of that locker room. I think Coach McCarthy squashed it the next day by saying Dak is his starting quarterback. But right now, Cooper Rush is your starting quarterback, and that's who you focus on.
Yeah, if I'm Cooper Rush, just continue to do what you're doing, leading this offense and making plays out there. We all know Jerry Jones is the ultimate businessman out there, and he's going to make sure the Cowboys at the top of the headlines, and that's all well and good. But we know when Dak gets back, this will be his time. And in the meantime, if I'm Cooper Rush, just keep on doing what you're doing, making plays and putting good tape out there.
And Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott joking about it a little bit earlier in the week, but it's no joke what Cooper Rush has done. He's come in and he's won 2 games against 2 formidable opponents. Minnesota last year in week 8 of the 2021 season, and then against the reigning AFC champions last week in the Cincinnati Bengals. Barry, when you look at your confidence meter with Cooper Rush, how much has it shifted now that he's had a couple games as a starter?
I would say it's gone up a lot, in my opinion. I mean, I know that one-off game in Minnesota, that was great, but that was a one-off game. Now he's coming back and he did it once again. If he can do it again here in New York, my meter's going skyrocket.
Oh, no, I'm not as on the side. I'm not on rocket like you are. You know what I'm saying, BC? But I am on a little bit higher pedestal than I was the day before. Okay. And the reason why is because he has proven that in the 2 games that you asked him to show up and show out, he's done so. However, last week there were some opportunities that he got lucky on. I want to see that luck go away, and I want to see the skill replace it.
I don't mind the luck. Keep up with the luck and keep doing what you're doing. He won on the road. He's won at home. He's back on the road. As long as he's super managed this game, he should be all right.
Rush is the first Cowboys quarterback to win his first 2 starts since Jason Garrett did it back in 1994. Dak Prescott, Tony Romo didn't have a chance to do that, but hey, Cooper Rush did, and he also needs 190 yards. I love this stat a lot, and a win to join Kurt Warner is the only undrafted quarterback in NFL history to throw for 750 yards and win his first 3 starts in an NFL game. So plenty on the line for Cooper Rush statistically, but bottom line, he just wants to win. So does Mike McCarthy. Here's what he had to say about the quarterback situation.
I don't know how your day was yesterday, but I didn't know what you thought about the quarterback controversy that's looming in the Cowboys facility. And then
I'm just trying to say this with a straight face. Had a great day yesterday, but thanks for asking. But I had a little more conversation last night with Tad than I would like, especially, he was in the middle of a move. I don't know if you heard that. But, no, everything's good. I just think, once again, I mean, we've talked about the comments. I think, like anything, when you look at the whole thing, and particularly the start, it's about winning, and that's all we really care about. But there's no quarterback controversy.
Dak's your starter. Dak's
our starter. Yeah. Frankly, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. We actually feel like it falls on in your lap. I think you have to have a, bigger responsibility in this. I mean, I think you need to be able to decipher between GM Jerry and the owner Jerry. Because I think, and he can do that right in mid-sentence too. So I think you all need to do a better job of that. So. Get to work. So.
And marketer Jerry.
I think I just said that, Clarence. Yeah, I mean, GM, he wants to win.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges in going up against Daniel Jones, who has shown he has some escapability in the pocket as well?
Yeah, I think when you look at Daniel, I mean, what's it, 3 systems now? That's part of it. That's a challenge for any young quarterback. But what I will say is I think the way he's playing suits his game, the best, because he can play from the pocket. I think he has 11 scrambles already in two games, so his ability to make plays outside the pocket, the threat of the run is there. But I do think there's a lot there in the passing game. So he's definitely off to a really good start. I think they're utilizing him a little different than he was used the last couple of years. But it really starts with Saquon. I mean, that's the starting point in the offense, and just like anything, I don't care who your quarterback is, a healthy run game is the starting point.
So said like a true veteran, Mike McCarthy talking about his quarterback situation by also saying that it's not just up to the quarterback. It's the offense as a whole that brings success to an NFL franchise. And you can certainly see it in his mind there. That's what he's worried about, is putting the whole puzzle piece together in his first ever meeting with Giants' new head coach, Brian Daboll. And Barry, when you look at this meeting back and forth, I mean, How does he change things from a scheme standpoint for the Giants? He's looking to go 3-0, something that only 3 Giants head coaches have ever done. How does he do it, and how does he change this entire organization?
Well, I think he started by changing the quarterback. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, look, this guy, I know it's early. I know it's early out there. And look, to me, Daniel Jones, he's gotten the most out of this guy. All right. You know, he's had the biggest, through the first month of the regular season, he's had the most completion percentage he's had in his entire career. He's sitting at 70.9. And I think that's huge for Daniel Jones. And he's also not that walking turnover that we've come accustomed to seeing out there. He's only turned the ball over 1 time. He has 0 forced fumbles out there. So to me, the biggest difference in what Daboll has been able to do, he's got the most out of Daniel Jones. And also, he has a healthy Saquon Barkley, which we haven't seen in a couple years. So those two things combined has got this New York Giants football team going in the right direction.
I'm going to double down on exactly what BC just said. I mean, you talk about a coach that's coming in who has been highly touted. He's been one of the most respected offensive coordinators in the league for the last 5 years. Look at what the Buffalo Bills have done. Look who Josh Allen is. Now you take that same type of guy, that same guy actually, bring him over here with Danny Dimes, as I like to refer to him, and you're seeing the effect that he's having. He's being more productive. He's not turning the ball over like Barry said. These guys are moving the chains. These guys are doing a great job on 3rd down. They're being highly efficient. Oh, and by the way, they're leading Saquon Barkley is leading the league in rushing right now. So these guys are doing a good job of not being flashy, but being efficient.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the scheme of the Giants and how they've allowed Daniel Jones to be successful a little bit later on in the show, because it's a completely different switch. But right now, let's go out to MetLife Stadium and hear from our very own Nick Eatman on the sideline as they get ready for kickoff between the Cowboys and the Giants. Nick, first off, how happy are you that this game is being played in September in New York Open Air Stadium rather than being played in January in the New York Open Air Stadium?
Well, I mean, after the summer we just had, I mean, I can take a little bit of cold now and then. I mean, I'm ready for it to actually start. So, yeah, obviously we've been down here or up here in some times where it's been a lot cooler than this. But I think we're going to have a few coming up here later on in the season. At Tennessee, I can promise you, is going to be a cold one. But, yeah, it's going to be fun. That anytime you get weather elements out of the game and it's just football, big on big, and that's, what you're looking for here tonight.
Nick, when you look at this Giants team and really the Giants fan base as a whole, it's a completely different mindset than it has been in this rivalry over the last couple of years. The Cowboys have won 9 of the last 10 against the Giants team, but why is it different this time around?
Well, I don't know if it is. I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll find out. I mean, I think that the Giants are 2-0. They've had 2 close games. We'll see who. It's still early in the season. It's hard to tell who's really good yet or not. I know this though. They have an attitude about them. They went for 2 to win the game against Tennessee on the road. I mean, I think that they're playing to win. They're going up there to go win, not to compete anymore, to go to win. So that's what the mindset looks like right now. But I'm not going to sit here and say that it's been fixed. I mean, I still think the Cowboys will win this game tonight. I think they're the better team. I think they're going to be better on the line of scrimmage. They don't have Micah Parsons, the Giants. I mean, that they might have something similar, but he's going to be up here in a suite with a bit LT earring on. He's not Micah Parsons, and so I think that's the advantage right there for the Cowboys.
Nick, man, you're looking smooth as always, my brother. But let's dive into it. Defensively, what matchup do you think the Dallas Cowboys can take advantage of tonight against the New York Giants?
From the Cowboys defense, I didn't hear the question. I think it was a matchup for the Cowboys defense against their offense. But if that's the case, I mean, obviously Micah Parsons, I mean, you find the weak link. I mean, the weakest link, whatever it is, you find him. That's what I think, and that's what's the beauty of what Dan Quinn does. Now, one thing I'm worried about, you guys I'm sure touched on it, the fact that Micah missed a little bit of practice this week, it's not so much him, but because he moves around so much, the other guys have to move around too. Dorrance Armstrong's lining up here. There's different players, Fowler all over the spot. So that's the one thing that I'm looking to see how they handle him not being at practice for some of those games. But still, I think you find the weak link, and Daniel Jones has to be looking for him at all times. He's gone up so far. We've seen the Cowboys go up against Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, the best there ever was, and the best that there could be in the league here for the next few years. Daniel Jones is not that. Sorry. So the Cowboys are going to have to exploit that.
Nick, we're hearing a lot of rumors about Mr. Jason Peters on the offensive line and maybe making his Dallas Cowboys debut. What type of impact should he play, should we expect to see with him, and in particular the running game?
Well, you know, it's been a day full of surprises. I woke up this morning just wondering how many plays Michael Gallup was going to run, and then it turned out it's 0. So I'm a little reluctant to tell you what's going to happen. From what it sounds like, though, from what we've heard earlier, talked to Stephen Jones earlier this week, he said he thought that Jason Peters would be the 8th lineman, would be the guy that would play in there. He could play some guard, play some tackle, probably not start the game, but he is going to play some. And, you know, that's unusual to, like, rotate a lineman in there, but you know, they're going to figure out a way to do that. They want to get him some snaps, and it sounds like at guard.
Thank you very much, Nick, for taking some time with us. Have fun out there at MetLife Stadium. And I like what you said in the opening question. Who knows what's going to happen? It's the NFL. We're 3 weeks in. Anything can happen. Nick Eatman joining us here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Now, he just mentioned it. Michael Gallup is inactive. You've got Micah Parsons that is active. We also have Dalton Schultz inactive as well. So there's a couple of different ways that the Cowboys are going to have to fix things. We're going to talk about it coming up here in the next couple of minutes. But first, let's talk about somebody who is active and has been very active in the offense, and that is Noah Brown. Haley Sutton has more.
Noah Brown is the definition of working hard when nobody's looking. So when he scored his first touchdown last week against Cincinnati, no one was really surprised. This is a guy who has battled IR year in and year out, and now he's ready to show America's team why he belongs on the 53.
Leaping catch. That is Noah Brown with his first ever NFL touchdown.
I think that this organization's had a lot of trust in me for a long time, and it's good reason for that. I work every day, I work hard, and I want to get the job done. And you know, I was able to do it this Sunday.
It took Noah Brown 6 seasons to find the end zone in the regular season, but he knows that won't be his last time putting points on the scoreboard. The 2017 7th-round draft pick out of Ohio State has had a tumultuous relationship with the injury bug. But in 2022, he's finding his groove.
I think it's just keep pushing. You know, I came in the league a little bit raw and had to find my way onto the field, and blocking and special teams was a way for me to do that. I think I established that through just having pride in everything that I do. And now I get more opportunities. I take pride in getting open, take pride in catching the ball, and continue to do what I do.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So happy for Noah. We came in together a long time ago, and he's worked his way up. Well, he's always the guy doing the dirty work, doing the blocking, the special teams, and now he gets to go out there, show what he can really do. You know, he's worked hard. He's got his value right. He's running faster, strong catches. You know, really happy for him.
Brown's role on the team has shifted from year to year, but with the departure of Amari Cooper this spring and Michael Gallup still working back from an ACL injury, there's been more responsibility for the 6-year wide receiver to make plays that matter, and so far he's answered that call. He's already recorded career highs in receiving yards in each of the last 2 games and needs just 26 more yards to set a new season high. And in a season where he gets better week after week, we can pretty much expect Noah Brown to have another career-defining performance, because that's what he expects of himself.
I'm not going to lie and say it was all great all the time. There's definitely times, especially I mentioned last year, I struggled a little bit. So when I did get the opportunity, so to me it was just making sure that never happens again. Just being ready when the moment calls and be prepared to do anything else they ask me to do.
Just on so many fronts, I think number one, the versatility you want to have, you know, schematically challenging in game plan, but also two, I mean, Noah's earned that. I mean, he's in there doing all the run stuff, so the ability to benefit in the action game is really a product of his production over the years, and everybody was so excited for his first touchdown.
And no better week to put the team on notice than to face a divisional rival chasing history of its own. The Giants seeking a 3-0 start for the first time since 2009, thanks in part to a secondary limiting opposing receivers to just 66 yards or less. A challenge Noah Brown has already accepted.
I mean, people are obviously happy for me, but people that have known me aren't surprised. They know that it's something that I've been capable of and something that I just need to put on display, and I'm getting the opportunity to do so.
No one more deserving, it seems, right now than Noah Brown. He's impressed fans and he's impressed the coaching staff, so we will keep an eye on him in tonight's game. I'm Haley Sutton. Back over to you.
Thanks, Haley. Noah Brown leading the team in receiving to start the season. 10 receptions, 159 yards. He needs just 26 yards, Nate Newton, to get to his very own single-season career high. We're in week 3 of the season. He needs 26 yards. That's like 2 catches for Noah Brown, or at least for him, it may be even 1, because he's He's had 3 20-plus yard receptions this season. So great start for Noah Brown. Back here with Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans here for Cowboys Pregame Live. How has he impressed you the most in that Cowboys receiving corps?
Well, it started in training camp for me. He was running precise routes. He was competing hard against the inter-squad scrimmages, and then he took it to the field. And sorry, Dak, but when the new guy Rush came in, that was his guy. That's his number one guy. He's taking advantage of it. Nice route runner, and he's made several big plays, so he will see that ball, and that record will fall tonight.
Noah Brown and Cooper Rush came in as rookies together back in 2017. How does a camaraderie like that help out a quarterback and a receiver when they are back in the fold like this and they've been around the same system for so long?
I can't tell you about quarterback receivers, but I can tell you about a center and a left tackle.
Tell me about it.
When you're working with a guy, sometimes you don't even have to talk. You rent through that route enough times, or you went against that game enough times to just know. You set back, and you pass it. And that's what these two guys got. They just got chemistry. And, hey, you don't have to talk about it. All they got to do is go out there and work on it and transfer it to the game.
So with Noah Brown continuing to elevate in this wide receiving corps, can he legitimately keep this going as teams start getting film on him and start trying to push him a little bit more?
Yes, he can, because other guys will be coming back. Guys will be getting healthy, so now you can move them around a little bit more. Yes, they can right now try to think they can take him away, but CeeDee Lamb is maturing a little bit more too. So as CeeDee Lamb get a little bit more involved and Kellum find other ways for Simi Fehoko to get involved, they won't be able to just lock down on him.
Noah Brown with his first career NFL receiving touchdown last week in the win over the Cincinnati Bengals. He'll try to go for number 2 tonight. Let's take a look at some of the inactives today as the Dallas Cowboys prepare to take on their NFC East rival New York Giants. Michael Gallup, Dak Prescott, Nashawn Wright, Jayron Kearse, all guys we kind of expected to be on this list that aren't on the IR list, but they are inactive today. Luke Gifford, Connor McGovern, and then down there at the end, Dalton Schultz. That's a big question mark for him at the moment. But let's start up there at the top with Michael Gallup. Why is him not being in the fold still such a big loss for this Cowboys passing game?
Because you made him a part of the 53-man roster.
Yeah.
And so when you do that right there, it's a spot gone. Maybe it's a player that you can have there that's working at his position to help this team win. So that's the big disappointment for me. But the positive thing, maybe he's just a week away.
Could this just be them being careful with Michael Gallup? Is that what it is?
That's got to be, Kyle. That's got to be it. They've talked with him. The trainers have talked with him. The coaches have talked with him. How do you really feel? Be honest with us. And he probably just said, give me one more week of live practice.
Let's talk about the other side of that with Dalton Schultz at the same time. Could it be the same thing there, being careful with him? He was limited in practice over the weekend, and even with the extra day going into Monday Night Football, he is inactive as well. How big of a loss is he?
He's been a tough guy. He's been a guy that can run his routes, that try to block as best he can. So I think that's basically the same thing, Kyle. He's just going to make sure there's only one game, and I think you got 13, 14 more of them. So you got to keep rolling with how you do it.
First time that Dalton Schultz has been inactive since 2018. So what does he bring to the offense? You mentioned toughness. I want to elaborate on that a little bit. What does he bring to the offense that some of these other young tight ends, who we'll talk about in a minute, need to bring to the table?
He knows the system, and more importantly, he knows where to be an outlet for his quarterback. He's always been that guy, that go-to guy, like on Charlie Brown, got the blanket. This guy, he's that blanket for these quarterbacks. So he's always been there, and it's just Ferguson got to step up. He's got to step up. Now, I think Ferguson's a better blocker, but you know what? The pass catching is what we'll need tonight, too.
Yeah, Peyton Hendershot there, too. He's one of those guys that's been heralded by this Dallas coaching staff as a vertical threat. They're going to use both Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson, who have had the mindset all week long that they need to get ready to go. Let's hear from Ferguson and his thought now that Dalton Schultz is not active tonight.
I think it doesn't change my preparation at all. In my mind, I'm always thinking I'm going to play, even if I'm not going to play. I know I got to be ready for whatever comes my way. And like I said, opportunities may come, they may not, but I just got to be ready for them and make the best out of them when they do come.
What impressed you most about Cooper Rush the other day?
A lot of things. I know I haven't been in the league for very long, but I do see it in him and see sort of a swagger to him. When he's not the loudest, he's not the craziest or anything like that, but the dude knows his stuff. You can tell he's on top of his things in his preparation, whether it's practice, film study, or even just walking around the facilities. He's on top of his game, and that's just infectious. It makes you want to do the exact same. It makes you want to play with him. It makes you want to just get on top of your stuff, whatever you have to do. and like I said, it's infectious even when we get into the huddle on game day.
And swagger isn't the first word that comes to mind from the outside. When you
Yeah.
think about him. What do you guys see that we don't?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not from the outside, but there's definitely a little bit. And swagger isn't always outgoing and loud and crazy, but sometimes it's a little bit quiet and there's a little bit to it, and you almost got to look a little bit. And he's definitely got it, and it's, like I said, infectious, and kind of makes me not want to talk as much and kind of find a quiet swagger like him.
So no Michael Gallup, no Dalton Schultz, Jake Ferguson, and Peyton Hendershot going to need to step up as pass catchers in this Cowboys offense. Now, they may have some extra help on the sideline. Dez Bryant is in attendance. We'll actually hear from Dez coming up a little later on in the show. I know a lot of Cowboys Nation watching this show is like, wait, really? Dez is ready to? No, he's not playing. Don't worry. But we are going to have a conversation with him coming up. Let's keep on Jake Ferguson for a little bit here. What does he bring, Isaiah? Rookie out of Wisconsin, tough, hard-nosed, all-around tight end who's been praised by this coaching staff, especially the offensive staff. Can he do the job that Dalton Schultz cannot do tonight?
I'm not sure, but we're going to find out tonight because you think about the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants, and it's Don Martindale. I mean, this guy was a defensive coordinator for Baltimore Ravens for the last 6 years, and this guy, as far as last 10 years, and this guy has been highly touted. We all know how good Baltimore Ravens defense has been. They are going to test them, and Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari are both active for tonight, so those are their big pass rushers. If there's ever an opportunity for him to test out what these guys are capable of athletically, defensively, it's going to be tonight.
Wisconsin. That means you're mean, you're gritty, you're gonna give great effort, and that's what this kid gives. Talking to the offense, to the tight end coach, he says this guy's ready to rock and roll. He just need experience, and boy, he gonna show you tonight, Isaiah.
All right.
Yeah, there's a couple things that you're gonna have to show because, like you said, it's been a little bit of time since Dalton Schultz has been inactive. I spoke about Dez Bryant a little bit earlier. We have him now as Nick Eatman is on the sideline at MetLife Stadium. Nick and Dez Bryant.
Thanks, guys, and you know who this one is. He might have a number 7 on, but he's still one of the 88s. This is Dez Bryant. What's up, man?
What's up? What's up?
You
How you doing,
right?
baby? How you doing?
What's going to happen tonight?
Man,
Just tell me what's going to happen.
Well, look, I'm going to start out by saying this, man. We smoking that Giants pack tonight, baby. It's Cowboy Nation all the way, baby.
So tell us a little bit what you're doing here. Just being a fan? You got media stuff?
Yeah, I'm just here being a fan. You know, I was doing a couple of things with ESPN, but regardless, you know, it's Cowboy Nation all day. You know, these are my guys, my roots, is my home. I'm going to support it to the day I drop. So, hey, you know what it is.
You got a lot of guys to pick from. Why 7? What do you love about Trayvon's game?
Man, I love 7 because I feel like he got the natural raw ability. I love Michael Parsons, too. I was actually looking for a Parsons jersey to wear today, but I couldn't find one, which makes
Sold
sense,
out.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so, but I may end up getting one. Just reach out to Jerry to get it, but, yeah.
What are you liking about this team right now? I mean, obviously, it's a defensive team, and Micah and Diggs and all that. Is it going to be that kind of game tonight for them to win?
Absolutely. I think so. And I think Coop's going to come in and do a good job. I think he's going to come in and manage the offense the way he should, the way he needs to, you know, for these guys to come out and pull this victory. I really believe they can. You know, the Giants haven't faced anything like the Cowboys do yet, and I feel like they're in for a long night.
You're proud of Cooper Rush, and you've seen his career when he first started. What kind of mentality do you think he has to go into a big Monday night game like this?
Well, look what he did last year against Minnesota. And I think if the test is put out in front of him, I think he's always prepared. You know, I think that's one thing that I've always saw Coop do was prepare. You know, for whatever moment that's put in front of him. You know, he proved that last week against the Bengals. I was there. You know, I got a suite at the stadium.
All right.
I love watching the games. I think he's going to come out and do the same thing. I don't think he's going to come out and try to do anything outside of what Coop needs to do, but to manage this game the right way and win it.
Well, I'm going to take you back about 8 years. I remember 2014 when Odell Beckham, might have been right over here, made that one-handed catch.
Yep.
And then you said after the game, you said, great catch, one of the best catches I've ever seen, but we got the dub.
Yep.
Pickens the other day and Steelers did one. What do you think? Is it comparable?
I'll say this. This is one A, one B.
Okay.
Because I think that's extremely wild, you know, to be able to, track a ball like that.
Yeah.
You know, and, a lot of credit to George Pickens. I think he did make the catch of the year. You know, and you're right. It's arguably up there. But it's for sure 1A, 1B. It can go either way. That was a hell of a catch.
All right, man. I know you got some media things to do. Before we let you go, we got to get the X one more time, Aggie. Throw it up for us.
I'm here with my dog.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate
All right, guys. Dez Bryant, throw it back to you.
Thank you very much, Nick. And Dez Bryant sporting a new look, and not only with the hair, but he's also got the new jersey on. A little bit different, Isaiah, than what we've seen Dez in the past.
A little bit, but he's still supporting the right team, so he's good.
That's a good point. And he's still throwing up the X. He's still doing the same kind of bit he's had forever. We still love Dez Bryant. Speaking of a different look, though, the Dallas Cowboys have had a different look this season on their offensive line. No more La'el Collins. No more Connor Williams. No more Tyron Smith, at least for the moment, out with an injury, at least until the later parts of the season. So a new look up front for the Cowboys with Terrence Steele, Matt Farniok, and Tyler Smith. 3 of the 5 guys up front for the Cowboys have been completely different this year than they were last year. And things could even change a little bit further, gentlemen, if Jason Peters gets in the fold. He is active tonight, signed from the practice squad yesterday. So, Nate, I ask you about this offensive line. How much can you rely on them to get the job done up front?
They're going to have to. I mean, Matt Farniok, man, just keep doing what you did last week with Kellum. He down blocked with the tight ends. He down blocked with the tackles. He pulled the tackles. He pulled the guards. Just keep doing what you're doing. But I've been hearing those whispers, too, where Peters may get a certain amount of snaps. You know, I don't like pitch count with offensive linemen. I don't like to play that mix-up game. But if you can get a power game running, so this kid Peterson won't have to get out there and pull a lot, you can just start coming downhill, I'll be acceptable to that.
I think Matt Farniok has done a great job filling in for the role that was vacated. And the reality is he's a third-string offensive line that's fighting for his life and giving you everything that he can. Yeah. That's what you asked for. But what you have accessible to you now is a 9-time Pro Bowler. What you also have accessible to you at the other guard position is a 7-time Pro Bowler. So I would like to put Tyler Biadasz in an ice cream sandwich of 16 Pro Bowls and really shore up the interior of the offensive line and get this ground game going, because everybody knows when Zeke is running the rock and they are effective on the ground game, the passing game opens up for the Dallas Cowboys.
Ice cream sandwiches, I like it. Yeah. New York, it's not that cold, but hey, we're still getting the job done offensive line-wise. You mentioned Matt Farniok specifically, because Farniok is a guy who is a second-year, 7th-round draft pick, and there's a lot of draft picks on that Giants offensive line, too. They've had their fair share of turnover over the last year as well. That was their original starting offensive line. They've got 4 of the 5 guys being added to the mix, including first-round pick Evan Neal, a guy that the Cowboys had a really big eye on moving forward. That reconstruction for the Giants offensive line has been going on for quite some time. They just haven't gotten it right, but it looks like they may have gotten it right this year. How much of an advantage, though, could this be, Isaiah, for the Dallas pass rush to get after a new offensive line like this?
It could be huge, especially being that the New York Giants have given up 8 sacks this year so far. They're not turning the ball over like they have in recent years, but they are giving up sacks. So with that being said, our talent on the defensive side of the ball is far greater than their offensive line. And you can get after these guys if they hold on to the ball. With this Brian Daboll's new offense, they're not holding on to the rock a whole lot. I can't imagine that they're going to sit back there and give Michael Parsons, a talent like him, with Lawrence Taylor sitting there, sending the messages saying, I'm watching you. I don't believe that they're going to give him an opportunity to sit back there and throw the ball all day long. They're going to try to get it out of his hands quick, and they're going to try to affect the game by keeping it on the ground game.
Speed kills. When you're athletic like this Dallas defense here, it could kill you. Evan Neal, you've not seen this. I know you're great, Bauman and all this, but you've not seen what Parsons can bring. You've not seen how quick Sam Williams can come off this ball. Yeah, I tell you what, if those 2 big hogs of ours, Quentin Bohannon and these other guys play in the middle and play stout, they're going to have a long day for that young offensive line over there.
I know it's hard for us to tell from the outside looking in, but have you guys either played with an illness or played through an illness at some point? Because that's what Michael Parsons is doing today. He even tweeted out yesterday a picture of the Michael Jordan flu game that he's having to go through a bit of an illness to get on the field tonight. Have you ever had to experience or know anybody that it's experienced something like that?
Not with a sickness, but I play with my fair share of injuries. And I know that that's something that you got to fight mentally, right? That's something that you come into the game, you understand, you get your fluids early on, you get your hydration in, and you go out there and play the best game that you know how to. He is the most athletic guy on the field next to Saquon Barkley. Those 2 lions are going to go head-to-head. Let's see who wins that thing.
I'm not bigger than Michael Jordan and Parsons. You're a monster. But I played through injury, I played through illness, but never in a Super Bowl. So. And that's what the Giants are playing today. They're Super Bowl, because if we crush them, they're through.
Okay, how about that? There's a nice bold prediction there from Nate Newton. Now, Michael Parsons last year led the NFL, or was up there in terms of rookie sacks. He leads the NFL in sacks at the moment and tackles for loss, but he did not have a sack in the 2 games against the New York Giants last year, one of just 4 teams to hold him out of the backfield. DeMarcus Lawrence also going to try and get into the mix today as well. Here's what he had to say about this matchup with New York coming up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, The scheme unchanged, players up front unchanged, but I feel like if we execute the way we should, it's still the Giants.
You didn't lose any division games last year, and you've been pretty good in the division your whole time here.
Mm-hmm.
Does that carry over when you face these teams twice a year and you have a pretty good track record against them, even though the personnel changes?
I can't say that. Every year is a different year. You have to prepare differently, just depending on their coaching staff and what type of scheme of offense or defense they're playing. So I'm not going to say that, but I am going to say it's still the same organization. When you get to see a team twice a year, it's kind of easier to pick up on their top 15 players or what they're trying to do or who they're trying to, feature as their, star guy. So, we know the Giants and we know them as division players. Offensively, it's Daniel Jones, Saquon, the number 3 receiver, 18, and, they got another guy at receiver. So, just line up, play football, play sound defense, and, straight speed.
You used to tell us how much you loved facing Eli when Daniel first started. I think you called him Little Eli.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about facing Daniel Jones, and how much do you look forward to it?
Yeah, excited to see Little Eli again, too.
Oh, little joke there at the end from DeMarcus Lawrence. Little Eli. There's Daniel Jones. I don't know if we could necessarily call him that. These are the career numbers that he's put up there. The win-loss record speaks for itself. 30 interceptions, 36 fumbles. He's had more turnovers than he has passing touchdowns throughout his career. But this doesn't look like the same Daniel Jones to start things off. And Isaiah, you've been very outspoken about this. Yeah. He takes care of the football. Brian Daboll's system does bring that to the table, just to able to get it out quick, not put him in a spot to where he has to make plays. But how does the Dallas defense get the old Daniel back? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the 4 touchdowns and no turnovers at home. I want the old Daniel to play.
Yeah, you want to let your goons be goons. I mean, you want to get these guys to come downhill, try to find some open lanes. But the reality is they are going to be trying to get the ball out of his hands quick. Back in 2019, he had 12 interceptions. In 20, he went to 10. Last year, he went down to 7. And now he's at 1 through the first 2 games. I think you have a great opportunity of getting your hands up at the line of scrimmage. If you don't find your way home to get a sack, then you need to turn your rush into getting your hands up, get a tip ball, because you know what they say, Barry? Tips and overthrows?
You got to get those. And you're 100% right. I think this comes down to the trenches. Look, I understand what, Coach Daboll has done with Daniel Jones out there, and he's done an amazing job keeping the ball out of harm's way. But they haven't seen a front seven like the Cowboys have, all right? So if the Cowboys can go out there and they can contain Saquon Barkley and force the New York Giants to go out there and depend on Daniel Jones' arm in order to be productive, kiss the baby, it's over with. We're getting at least 2 takeaways out there, and to me, that's winning football.
I like that a lot. Daniel Jones has taken care of the football. They've won their last 4 home games dating back to last year. He hadn't won back-to-back home games at any point in his career prior to this 4-game winning streak at MetLife Stadium. So keep that in mind as the Cowboys go in here on primetime. But what about the guys that he's throwing the football to? That's a big question mark. As much as Daniel Jones holding on to the football, how does he get it to these guys? Richie James, who missed all of 2021, has had a big return this year. Sterling Shepard. But outside of that, Kadarius Toney, he's inactive again today, just the 2 receptions so far. Kenny Golladay hasn't necessarily done a whole lot. Barry, defensively, what kind of threats do these wide receivers pose against Dallas?
I mean, I think you always got to respect your opponent out there, so you got to have respect for him out there. But to me, I think the secondary has a huge advantage. It's not necessarily what they can do. To me, it's the pass rush. If these guys go out there and like I said earlier, if they can contain Saquon Barkley and force Daniel Jones to throw the ball, they have a huge advantage out there. But with a pass rush like Dallas has, it forces the quarterback to speed things up. All right, it forces him to make decisions before he's ready to go make a decision out there. And to me, that's a recipe for success, especially when you have an opportunistic corner like Trayvon Diggs out there.
It's going to be very interesting to see how these guys are going to perform tonight. You just mentioned personnel-wise, we should destroy these guys. But the system that is in place for the New York Giants is the key difference maker here. He is building up Daniel Jones's confidence level as he continues to go out throughout the season. The system that's in place is a lot of short splits, a lot of crossing routes. What does that do to defenders in the secondary? It causes confusion. Now these guys are going to have to talk. Hey, who has who? What leverage do you have? If he comes out, do I have him? Do you have him? So that's what Dallas is going to be challenged with tonight. Let's see if they can figure it out.
Who does that challenge the most on the defensive side if there are those crossing routes routes and there's all this confusion, who has to step up?
The linebackers and the secondary. That's the thing. Both of those departments are going to be responsible for communicating properly. Barry can speak to it more than anybody. When you have the safeties that think that they have responsibility, but the linebackers are thinking that they have the same guy, all of a sudden things get convoluted. People pop out at the other end. It doesn't matter how good the personnel it is.
Yeah, without a doubt, communication is key. And like you said, it's between that second level, that linebacker core, and then that secondary as a whole. If you guys are on the opposite ends of the page right there, all you can see is running into each other. Bam, bam, bam. Guys are going to come out scot-free. And then you're playing man-to-man coverage. If that receiver comes out the gate, it's a wrap. He's looking for at least a huge game right there. So the communication is key between the linebackers and the secondary. They've got to be on the same page when you're dealing with an offense with a lot of crisscrosses like that.
So keeping it underneath is what the Giants are going to do. They're going to keep it underneath and try and confuse things in the front of a defense. But then Daniel Jones, he does have the arm to throw it deep, and he will go over the top of a defense from time to time. Dallas has to be ready. Last year, they made New York pay. Jordan Lewis, Malik Hooker, Anthony Brown, and Trayvon Diggs all had interceptions in the 2 games against the Giants last year. 6 total. Trayvon Diggs actually had 2 against the Giants in that matchup last year. Donovan Wilson, he had an interception in week 1 of the season. He's trying to combat what he's done through the first 2 weeks of the season and keep that going as well. Here's his thoughts on tonight's matchup.
Just a communicator. And somebody the guys look at for to set the tempo. So I try to go around and play hard as I can every place and let them feed off of it.
And the versatility. I mean, how important is that in your game? You've shown you can do quite a bit in this. I mean, how much do you pride yourself in that? Why is that?
Yeah, because you never know what situation you're going to get put in. So I try to keep myself ready and available for whichever role coach need me to play.
How would you describe this defense right now? I mean, Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, they're struggling scoring toucouchdowns. I mean, that speaks highly, I would think, this week.
We're just trying to take it week by week, get better and better every week, and just play off each other.
You've always been known as a big hitter.
Yes, sir.
Every single time, do you still do that, or do you pick your spots more now without being in the right position? Have you changed, I guess, in that way?
I just try to take good angles, and if a big hit presents itself, I'm going to take the hit. But I just try to create good angles and play off of it.
Donovan Wilson, second on the team with 13 tackles through the first 2 weeks of the season, only behind Leighton Vander Esch in that category, including 8 that he had last week in the win over the Cincinnati Bengals. But he's got a tough task, to say the least, going up against the guy this week out of the backfield for the New York Giants. His name, Saquon Barkley. He has been phenomenal this season, back and healthy. He's had 20 touches in back-to-back games for the first time since 2019. He leads the NFL in rushing yards and yards per carry entering week 3. And outside of being healthy, Nate, why is he so dangerous? What makes him as good of a back as he has been for this Giants program?
He's a do-all guy. I mean, he's all 3 downs. I think he blocks fairly well. He runs electric. He catches the ball out of the backfield. You can look for this guy to take it a distance from any point on the field. If you're on the 1-yard line, he can go 99. If you're in the red zone, he can leap over the pile. This dude is a super athlete, but watching him on film, when you hit him in them lower extremities, he kind of gets up slow. So, keep punching at him. Don't do anything stupid, but keep punching at him.
So what you're saying is he has some PTSD as far as his previous injuries. So absolutely correct. That is his weakness on film. If you take some shots at his legs, he's going to be a little bit hesitant. But this guy is Barry Sanders-ish in terms of his ability to be able to stop on the go and then take off full speed. Barry mentioned it earlier. It's not somebody that you want to try to take on one-on-one. You want to try to gang tackle him. You guys will hear more of that coming up soon. But the thing is with Barry Sanders, not Barry Sanders. I call him Barry Sanders. Oh, my God. Something like it. Something like it, okay? But with Saquon Barkley, this guy is an every down back, just like he said. Out of 60 plays on average in the game, if you take care of business for 50 plays and you relax on those last 10, this is the type of guy that can make you pay.
So basically what you're saying, you need to play downhill, you need to make contact and go straight up head for head, hat on hat with this guy, right?
Yeah, no, not so much.
That doesn't sound like a great idea because that's probably the way to stop him, and that's why nobody has stopped him. He, for the most part, has been an unanswered prayer for this Cowboy, or for the NFL in general, to get him taken care of. It just has not happened for Saquon Barkley. And hey, you know what? Who could maybe help things out here? As maybe it has been an unanswered prayer a little bit for this Cowboys team. How about Haley Sutton and Barry Church? Because it's time for church service back here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Haley, take it away.
Thank you so much, Kyle. I am joined with none other than Barry Church on one of the most exciting segments of this Pregame Live church service. Barry, good to be with you. This is our first time to do a little church service. I'm excited
I'm
to get
so
the
excited.
spirit
So excited to get it going.
We're talking a little Saquon Barkley today. It's obvious this Giants offense goes through Saquon. One of the first things we want to talk about is being disciplined. I want you to break that down. How do the Cowboys stay disciplined in this?
This is one of the biggest keys of this game. We have got to play disciplined football when it comes to Saquon Barkley. This guy is a human joystick out there. He's basically Barry Sanders reincarnated. He can make you miss in a phone booth. So we got to be disciplined out there. If your job is to stay in the A-gap, stay in the A-gap. Trust your other teammates to do their job as well. Because if you got a bunch of guys out there doing their own thing, playing hero ball, trying to make every single tackle out there, that's how your defense gets compromised, and that's how big explosive runs can happen from Saquon Barkley. So you got to be disciplined, stay in your gap, trusting your other defenders out there, and corral this guy as a unit. If we can go out there as a unit and corral this guy, we can limit him and basically win the game. Because without him, I don't think the Giants' offense got much.
Yeah, and you mentioned going in as a unit, a new term that I just learned today, gang tackling. Right? So why is that so important to get multiple hands on Saquon Barkley?
You got to get multiple hands because, like I said, this guy he can make you miss in a phone booth. And we can go in there and we can have a lot of solo tackles like we did in week 1, and we went against Leonard Fournette, and that guy was dragging defenders because it was all one-on-ones out there. He rushed for 121 yards against us. Leonard Fournette, that was unacceptable. Unacceptable for a Dan Quinn defense. So you fast forward to the next week against Cincinnati and Joe Mixon, and the mentality just changed. These guys were all over the place. I'm talking about 3-4 hats at the ball at each and every time. They suffocated Joe Mixon out there. He was only able to rush for 57 yards, and that's way more acceptable than what we did in week 1. So we got to have that same mentality going against this Saquon Barkley New York Giants rushing attack because he is a home run threat at any given moment. I'm talking about 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 hats at the ball at the same time when this guy has the rock. We got to make it seem like there's a team meeting or defensive team meeting on top of Saquon Barkley's head out there. We have got to limit this guy, and the key to doing that is gang tackling. I need this defense to surround this guy, suffocate him, and suffocate that New York Giants rushing attack.
Yeah, and this Dallas defense is no joke as well when it comes to being physical. You got guys like Michael Parsons, D-Law. How is that going to be important when it comes to containing Saquon Barkley, as you talked about?
Like I said earlier, Saquon Barkley, he's kind of Barry Sanders reincarnated. So what he does, he likes to avoid contact at all costs. So what do we got to do defensively? We have got to hit through this guy. We have got to be physical with him from the jump. From the first quarter, we have got to make sure we put a punishment on this guy. When he runs through the rock, he has to feel you each and every time. I'm talking about when he doesn't even have the rock. If he's going out for a pass reception, bump him a little bit. Just make him feel you, because if we keep hitting him from down number 1, when it comes to the third quarter, he'll be waving that white flag, talking about no mas, no mas. And if we get him down to that, and all they got to do is rely on Daniel Jones, then it'll be trouble for the New York Giants. So to me, be physical with this guy, wrap him up, gang tackling with a bunch of your players out there, and you got to be disciplined. If you do those 3 things, we can limit the New York Giants rushing attack and force them to rely on Daniel Jones, and at that point, we'll know we've got him.
Sounds like a pretty easy game plan, right?
Easy to me.
Sounds easy enough. I feel good. I feel like that was a good church service.
There we go. We went to church.
Thank you so much. Kyle, we'll send it back over to you.
A fantastic church service as always. Haley Sutton and Barry Church here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Kyle Yeoman's back with you. Now, we go from one running back to the other. Ezekiel Elliott and company trying to get the ground game going for the Dallas Cowboys against a familiar rival. Ezekiel Elliott, 14 straight games where he has not had 100 yards rushing. The last time he did it against the New York Giants. So he knows a little something about this rivalry and how it's different this week.
I think on film you could visually see that, they're playing a little harder as a defense this year. It's a little bit different scheme. They bring a lot of pressures. Sometimes, it's not that fundamentally sound, but you definitely got to be locked in on the different pressures they bring.
Is it hard to scout them? Because in the first 2 games, they've really kind of mixed it up with 6 DBs up front, putting safeties in the box.
I'll say it is hard, kind of hard. It's these first 4 weeks of the season are always hard just to scout, just because there's not that much game film. There's not that much film with all starters out there. You kind of get a glimpse of what the defense could be in preseason, but it's just not that much of a sample size of you seeing what they're gonna do. So. I'll say, yeah, it probably is a little harder.
Do you study Wink's defense in Baltimore at all this week, just to give you a little bit more tape?
Yeah. So when we're studying pressures, we look at some of those Baltimore pressures we've seen, just kind of trying to pull from anywhere we can to get somewhat of an idea, just because the sample size of the Giants is so small.
So just 105 yards for Ezekiel Elliott, 51 for Tony Pollard. Gentlemen, Has that been a disappointment? Have they relied on the ground game a little bit, or I guess not enough to this point in the season?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I feel like, each and every time Zeke starts to get rolling, he's getting ready to get that train going, we kind of go away from him a little bit. So I would like to see Kellen Moore in this game plan coming up, feed the beast a little bit more. Maybe that 20 to 25 carries, I think that should be enough for Zeke to get loose tonight.
I agree with you. I think that the Dallas Cowboys offense is still from the ground game. I don't care how much Kellen Moore wants to throw this ball around. You have to get Zeke going. You have to get Pollard going. They need to be more effective. And I think there's some big fellas that are going to be some help on the way, Big Nate.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But, I think just a few more carries than last week. But, incorporate a little bit more into the second half so you can help your defense, because it's all about our defense. But if we can get Zeke going, get him about 2 or 3 more touches, mixed in there with Tony Pollard, you should be all right.
Isaiah, do you really think Jason Peters makes that big of an impact on this run game if he plays tonight?
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about somebody who's a 9-time Pro Bowler at the left tackle position, but you take some of his responsibilities and you cut that down and now put him in a box where he doesn't have to cover a bunch of space. That is a 340-pound man. That is a mammoth. And you're one hole away from a 7-time Pro Bowler. The interior of your line is as strong as it ever can be, or probably as strong as anybody in the league.
Yeah, it definitely helps things out and maybe could open things up from a running back standpoint. But what about in the wide receiving game as well and in the passing game? If Tony Pollard is out wide, Barry, how does that challenge a defense, and how does that kind of elaborate and open things up for the offense as well?
Well, as a defense, it's hard because you got mismatch nightmares in that instance, because you're not going to put your top corners on the running back coming out there in the slot position. What you're going to do is you're going to have to march out that linebacker. You're going to have to march out that safety out there to cover him. And those guys aren't particularly great in space, besides myself, because I was great in space.
Of course.
But besides that, I mean, you got mismatch nightmare out there with Tony Pollard, and he can make things happen in space against linebackers and safety. So that gives you an advantage offensively.
I agree with you if the defenses remain in a base defense, but they're going to do kind of what they did when I started playing the tight end position. They're not going to bump a linebacker out to you. They're going to put a nickel cornerback, or they're going to put you in the dime package, right? So as soon as they see that personnel come into the huddle, they're automatically changing their defensive scheme so that when he does decide to go out there to the receiver position, he's matched up with somebody with a similar skill set.
I agree with you, Isaiah. You have to put him at the back position. You have to let him come into motion. You can't just line him up out there. You got to let him come in motion. Once you let him come in motion, then it's hard to match up with it.
That's kind of how he had his receiving yardage last year, 47 yards on 1 attempt, and it was coming out of the backfield, and it got the Cowboys offense all the way down to the 1-yard line. And then, of course, he punched it in for a rushing touchdown just one play later. But that's the biggest thing right now is you need weapons on the outside. Dallas enters the week as the 31st offense in the NFL out of 32 in terms of points per game with just 11 points per game. They need weapons. CeeDee Lamb needs to be a weapon as well. Here's his thoughts in terms of his involvement early on and how it compares to the wins that they've had.
Just understanding that this is all part of the process. It's part of the game. Just letting the game come to me and not really trying to force the issue or force my way into being in the game. Just understanding that I'm being taken out for a reason, and great opportunities for everyone else that's on the field. And I'm happy for those guys to actually, showcase their ability and showcase what they've been, working their whole lives for also. So just being out there with those guys and understanding, we're competing for a dub together. So just togetherness, if you will.
Do you feel it's easier to get into the flow and do what you need to do if you get a couple of opportunities early? Does that help you get into the game quicker, or can they come later in the game and you're still?
Honestly, they can come whenever they want. Everyone wants the ball early, but if it comes later, then I'm here for it. Whatever it does to help the team win.
Got to do whatever he wants to, or whatever he can to help his team win. 9 receptions, 104 yards. CeeDee Lamb with so many expectations throughout the offseason. Barry, has he been a bit of a disappointment to this point in the offense, or is he just getting started?
I think he's kind of a mix of both. I mean, I'm slightly disappointed on what he's done, but he's also just getting started, in my opinion, because the season is early, all right? The season's early out there, and look, it's not like the Cowboys haven't given him opportunities. He's had 11 targets in the first game, so the guy has got there passing the ball to him. He just has to have to do a better job of creating separation from the defensive back, and I feel as though he can do that as the season progresses.
I'm not disappointed, Kyle, and the reason why is because I didn't put that level of expectation on him. I think that the organization prematurely put him in a position to be a number 1 receiver, and you're seeing consequences of that. It's going to take him some time. That's not to say that he will not be a number 1, but right now he's not. Noah Brown is.
Yeah, he's going to have to work through a lot. I mean, that's how it is. You say number 1, other teams get glued to you. So he's going to have to start running better routes, catch the small passes, the 5s and out, the 5s and in, catch those passes, get himself going. So, hey, he'll be okay. Just give him 2 or 3 more games.
He'll try and do something against that Giants secondary. The secondary of the Giants is not their strength. So they have an opportunity to maybe get the passing game going, even with Cooper Rush at quarterback and, of course, with Michael Gallup not in the fold for the 3rd week in a row. But let's go back out to MetLife Stadium prior to kickoff. Rob Phillips got caught up with Cowboys COO Stephen Jones.
Thanks, Kyle. Heard from Dez Bryant on the field here earlier, and now another special guest, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones. Stephen, thanks for the time. New York, Monday Night Football, division opener, not a bad setting to try to build off last week's win.
Well, it doesn't get any better than this. And, of course, after yesterday's games, these Giants are one of 3 teams that are undefeated. So we'll have our work cut out for us. They're playing really good football, led by Saquon Barkley, who looks like he's got his health and ready to go. But, no, this team's playing really well. A new coaching staff stepped right in and really got these guys playing well. As I said, we'll have our hands full on both sides of the ball, but it is a good game for us to, if we could come in here and play well, it'd be great for our guys and great for us to build on if we could come in here and play really well and figure out how to get one here.
These division rivalry matchups always tough. Now, you guys made a transaction earlier today. Jason Peters signed to the active roster. Any expectation for you as far as what he might do as far as possible playing time tonight?
Yeah, I think there's some expectation that we're going to try to get him a couple of series if possible. And, we're working him into this the right way. And, this is a guy who knows how to play the game. He's played these guys and knows all about the New York Giants and knows all about the NFC East. But it's great to have him with the Cowboys uniform on and, think he can come out here and maybe get his feet wet in a Cowboys uniform and work his way into being ready to go.
A lot of years in Philadelphia, so he knows all about this rivalry in the NFC East. Okay, Jalen Tolbert active tonight. Michael Gallup is not. First question is, how close was MG to being active tonight, and what do you expect from Jalen tonight?
Really close. The biggest thing we've got to do right here is protect Michael from himself. He's a competitor, wants to be out there, but it's also a long season, and what we don't want to do is rush him out there and then not have him. So. Plus, JT's had a great couple of weeks responding to not being active, and would surprise me a bit if he has a really good game tonight. And it's a great opportunity for him to step up. And I know Michael's not far off. He's going to be, in fact, he didn't go tonight. I'm sure it's right around the corner.
Well, Dak Prescott as well. He's not active tonight. Report that he got his stitches out today. What's the next hurdle for him as far as trying to get back on the field as soon as possible?
Well, it's just it's going to be his timeline now that he's got those stitches out. I'm sure his next point of emphasis is going to be really working on gripping and getting his flexibility back in his hand and see how fast that can come. I mean, obviously for him to play, he's going to have to be able to grab the ball and spin it at a high level like he usually does. So it's going to kind of be on his time frame. I think someone said he was making, had a time frame of his own, and I'd never bet against him.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to push for it as soon as possible. Cooper Rush starting for Dak tonight. Just quickly for you, what's the key in your mind for the Cowboys to come out of here with a victory tonight?
I think not unlike last week, get off to a fast start, execute, get in a rhythm, and hopefully we can do that for the, rather than, a couple quarters, get in there and try to knock it out for 4 quarters and, just protect the ball. Obviously running the ball is going to be real important for us. I think it complements what Cooper does, but don't get me wrong. Cooper knows where to go with the ball. He knows this offense. He gets the ball out, and look forward to seeing how he does tonight as well.
Stephen, thanks for the time. Best of luck tonight.
Great being on.
Thank you.
Add that to a list of things you love to see. An Aggie interviewing a Razorback and everybody getting along after the oink doink at AT&T Stadium last week. But we're not talking college football. We're talking Monday Night Football. The stage is bigger and brighter than ever. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman coming up on the call. But we've got Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and Nate Newton to wrap things up. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Barry, give me your keys to the game.
Well, it starts in the trenches. For me, it's all about containing Saquon Barkley. If we're able to contain Saquon Barkley out there and force the New York Giants to rely on Daniel Jones' arm out there, I think we have a great opportunity to take the football away and get a dub. That's what I'm going with. Contain that man.
I hear you, BC. You better contain that man because on defense, the New York Giants are the best when it comes to third down defense and getting guys off the field. Dallas is going to have to play long, sustained drives, get the ball to Zeke, Cooper Rush, don't turn the ball over.
Turpin, Anger, and Maher. special teams. I need for you to be big up there, make some plays, and we'll come back with a victory.
How about that? Special teams, all three units playing into that. It's almost like it's complementary football, something we talked about a time or two on this show. Special thanks to our entire DallasCowboys.com crew, Haley Sutton, Nick Eatman, Rob Phillips and company out there at MetLife Stadium. We've got Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Enjoy the game, everybody. Monday Night Football on ESPN. It's the Cowboys and the Giants. We'll be back to break it all down from you from the Star after final score in New York.